Hello, and welcome again to another episode of the Veteran Recovery Network. I'm your host, peer support specialist Rob Wood, here with Veteran Healthcare System of the Ozarks. And with me today, I have another peer support specialist. His name is Jeremy Plant, and I'll let Jeremy tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, I go by JP, and I'm a 6-year combat veteran of the U.S. Army. Went in during Desert Storm, and now I'm graced to work as a peer support specialist here with the Substance Use Clinic and the new Residential Rehab Treatment Center.
Now, what's the name of that new facility that they're opening up here on the campus?
Yeah, we're going. The acronym was RRTP, and it stands for Residential Rehab Treatment Program or Center.
Okay, and now, Jeremy, as a peer support specialist, I know for myself, a big part of my recovery, being a peer is all about having a life of recovery, whether it be from a substance use disorder or a mental health disorder or physical problems, whatever it may be. That's one of the great things about peers is we're all about helping other veterans with their recovery. And JP, kind of tell us a little bit about, I know you were a combat veteran for 6 years, and I know that you are now a peer support specialist, but kind of what got you from point A to point B?
Okay, excellent. Yeah, one of the things about a peer support is one of our main tools is giving a testimony, a little bit about ourselves. And another thing, being a peer support for the VA is I have to be in recovery and a veteran as well. So yeah, just a little bit of my testimony is about 6 years ago. I was living out of state, and I had a lot of issues fall into my plate, and from just to name a few would be from becoming homeless to being laid off at a job and having some medical issues on top of some other things that I didn't know how to deal with. I am in recovery, like you said, and so I turned to alcohol to try to solve my problems. All that did was make things a little bit worse for my life. So I ended up eventually making my way down to the VA hospital here in Fayetteville to try to get myself put back together. I was fortunate to go into their mental institution for 7 days, and from there I was invited to go to a program I'd never even heard before, which I actually work with today. It's called the IOP, which stands for Intensive Outpatient Substance Abuse Program. It's a 28-day program.
So you actually went through the program, and now kind of on the other side of that, now you're actually able to help others get through the program.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome because, again, like I said, I didn't really know that any of that was even an offer to me, and so I was offered to come into that. I did that. Through those 28 days, I also got into another program that the VA offers. It's called CWT, which stands for Compensated Work Therapy, which gave me 6 months of employment at the hospital. And the good thing about this whole program is that even though I was working for an employer and getting trained in the hospital and getting a paycheck, I was able to take care of some personal things that JP had going on with him, from court issues to medical issues, marriage counseling, and all that. So I was able to kind of get that flexibility that you wouldn't get from another employer, to be able to take time off without risk of getting fired or getting reprimanded, being able to take care of the issues on JP and his family while working this program. And like you said, so today I'm here 6 years later going through and implementing all that, and I'm actually working with that same team that I credit a part of saving my life and my marriage and everything that I have today.
So as a peer support specialist, now I know you've been a peer support specialist a lot longer than you've actually been employed as a peer support specialist. How long were you a peer on kind of the volunteer side?
Well, yeah, so part of that thing, so that started kind of early on in my middle adult life. I think part of the cool thing about peer support specialists is that we're called to this. It's almost like a mission that it comes from inside of us. And so doing stuff outside in the community that I look back at now, from whether helping out at the food banks or the homeless shelters from my past community to working with churches and doing 12-step programs there, I was able to get into the VA after graduating those programs that I talked about earlier, and I was fortunate enough to go to get some training for a peer support specialist. And what I did was came back for the team that I'm working for now. I actually came under what's called without compensation peer support specialist, which is a new program that we actually implemented at the VA. I think I believe I was the first one as a peer support specialist certified to come do that. So to answer your question, I volunteered long days working for free, I guess, but giving back for about 18 months. And then here I am today where I'm getting a paycheck for doing something that I love anyway. But.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found with peer support as I got into it. It is like you said, it's almost a calling. We have the opportunity to go out and really be able to share our story with other veterans. Within the VA, with peer support, as JP said, first off, you have to be a veteran. Second off, you have to be in recovery. So it is a great opportunity to help guide others out of some of the same places that we've been. So tell me more with the time that you were going through. How long did it take you once you got into like IOP before you got into the CWT program?
Okay, so the way our programs are set up that I work with now is the intensive outpatient program is a 28-day program, which is 4 weeks of Monday through Friday, and so 2 weeks into that. You're actually, there's so much programming kind of crammed down your throat as you're going through this treatment program. And about 2 weeks into it, they have an orientation where somebody from the VA comes up and talks to you about the program. So you get on a list, you got to do a little bit of paperwork and get signed up after the orientation. And so it was the 28-day graduation that I had, it was less than a week that I was on a waiting list and being employed in one of the departments at the VA. So it's not necessarily works like that. It depends on how many people come in to sign up for CWT. So the cool thing about CWT is that you don't actually have to go through the 28-day program to get on the CWT list. Through many of our programs and groups that we have there, if an individual doesn't have an alcohol or drug issue, but maybe just dealing with PTSD, he wouldn't really fit the criteria for our intensive outpatient program. He's maybe seeing some of the other counselors that we have for PTSD and may want to get into the workforce. So it's kind of two different animals right there. But
yeah, I've actually known a couple guys who were they didn't have substance abuse issues, but they were bipolar or they had schizophrenia or something, and they were able to get into the CWT program that kind of allowed them to get some work training, to get some opportunities to balance their recovery with working again. And so I know I've seen a few of those who've been able to really start to build a life in recovery from whether it was substance use or just mental health in general.
Yeah, so if I would go ahead and elaborate a little bit on that. So yeah, so the way it worked for me is that when I got into the CWT program, what it did was it gave me a self of security because I knew that I was going to be employed for 6 months. And so with the situation that I had struggling, I knew that I was going to have some kind of income. And on top of that, like I was describing earlier, is that I was able to work on JP with some of his issues and not really worry about making that 9-to-5 job that I had there because I was getting that flexibility as long as I was communicating with my immediate supervisor. Another thing on that too is what it did was it helped me build a resume because I was getting trained in something I'd never done before to build a resume with some experience and also meet in people that worked in the hospital as well and kind of build a work ethic and stuff which was able to actually land me a permanent job. It doesn't work out like that all the time, but I like to tell people I was one of the fortunate ones when the jobs were coming down the pipe to hire people. I was just happened to be in the right spot at the right time, and so when I completed my 6 months with CWT, I was actually offered. I had to kind of go through the same thing, but they already knew me, and so I was actually able to go right on into full-time employment with the VA.
Basically doing what you had done with CWT.
Yes, right. So I started in the housekeeping EMS section of that, and so I was able to come right on into that up until recently here. I think I've been with my new job here for 3 months on the books. Like I said, I've been volunteering for about 18 months doing what I'm doing. But and so it was kind of like opened the doors for me and able to give me opportunity to be where I'm at today.
Now you mentioned that you spent about a week or so in the inpatient 1A facility here at Fayetteville, and that was just to help you kind of get your feet on the ground, or what was that experience like?
Yeah. So again, the 1A facility is kind of like our mental ward, and it's got dual things that go on down there. So the way it worked for me is that I came from out of state, and after I got impros through ER and everything, one of the issues that I had was dealing with the pain and everything is that I was kind of addicted to hydrocodone. And so one of the things that 1A does help you do, especially when you come into our program, they help kind of wean me off of that and kind of like a detox thing, and it's used a lot for that. So 3 of the days that I was down there out of the 7 was just kind of getting weaned off that, because that was one of the things I went to them. I was able to talk to a vast group of professionals when I was in 1A. And so I was like, I got to get off these hydrocodones. I don't want to take pills. I want to find out what's wrong with me. And so that was the beginning of me getting off that. And so I'm not really pain free, but I'm not on any kind of pain medications today. And so the kind of throw in one of the other things that I do is I'm fortunate enough to go down every Monday and talk to the guys in 1A. It's not part of my department, but I've kind of got a connection and made a relationship with them, because when I go down there, I don't even bring any peer support material that we're all trained in. I just give my hour testimony to the guys that are sitting in there, because I was one of those guys 6 years ago, lost and didn't know, I didn't have any hope. And I didn't even know where to begin, because I had all these issues going on with me. And so I go down there and tell them my story, and I can tell you, I haven't left out of there once, I can think, with maybe somebody has a tear in their eye or grabs me as I'm walking to go back over to the other building saying, hey man, your story sounds just like mine. I have these issues. So I get to go down there and tell those guys and maybe give some guys hope. And as our job, that's one of the main things that we do, is just, if all else fails, is try to instill hope into somebody, that doesn't have that anymore. And you see that far too often, at times when people come in here, they don't have any hope.
Well, and it's funny, we've known each other for a while now, and one of the things I didn't know was that you'd had some issues with the hydrocodones, and that was actually one of mine as well. For many years, I was on the pain pills, and it got to a point where it's like, this is not how I want to live anymore, and do I still have pain? Sure, I'm going to have pain of some kind probably for the rest of my life, but I'm no longer on any real pain, regular pain medication. So it has been amazing to see what kind of different things we can find and do to help ourselves get healthy. And I think that's one of the things I like about peer support is that we do not do things for you. We're gonna come in and we're gonna help you find the path that's gonna get you to be as well as you can be. And I often tell guys that, or gals as they come in, that, we've been down some of the same roads. Your recovery is your recovery. I will help you set goals. I will do what I can to help you attain those goals. But when it comes right down to it, you're the driver. You're the one that's got to be doing that. And I'm pretty sure you had a pretty cool experience here in the last year or so when you were with EMS. You got awarded as an Employee of the Month one time, didn't you?
I did. That's
pretty cool. Yeah. So not a bad way to go from the trek that you made of being down and needing to go through the time with 1A and IOP and getting into CWT. And so has this whole experience kind of put your life in maybe a different place than you thought it was going to be 6 or 7 years ago? Yeah,
absolutely. And so like I said, instilling hope into somebody and that's another thing that drives me here, is because when I came down here, I just met so many people that were putting that back into my life. And so I'd like to go ahead and hit on some of the things that I actually do over there.
Yeah.
So the IOP in the Substance Abuse Center that I work for, so one of the things that I'm actually involved in and actually facilitate is we have 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we actually do what's called a recovery support group. And it's tailored after any of your 12-step programs that you see out there in the community, your AA, NA, and Celebrate Recovery, all recognized by our department. And so, and it's kind of put in that model. And so I would like to invite any of the veterans out there that don't know where to even begin. A lot of the feedback that I get from the veterans and even myself is that I don't know if I want to walk into an AA or an NA or Celebrate Recovery out there in the community because they're not going to understand me. These ones are all tailored for veterans. You got to be a veteran to even be in there. So a lot of guys say, you know, I come to this one because this is the one that really gets me, because, you know, you got veteran on veteran, doesn't matter what era, from Vietnam to Desert Storm or to OEF or OIF. So it's kind of veterans all talking about the issues that we have here. And so I encourage that, and I like to facilitate those, that we have those offers there. And so one of the other things that I'm also doing on top of that is that I'm actually bridging the gaps in community networking with the surrounding churches and communities that offer AA and NA and Celebrate Recovery here. And we got so much support, you know, from Fayetteville all the way down, or all the way up to Bentonville and Springdale in between, is we got a lot of people out there that want to even come pick our veterans up that are in our programs, that are staying out there, and get them plugged in. So when they leave the facility from our programs, they have some other avenues to go to out there in the community. If they can't get to the VA to do a recovery group, they can hit one that's right down the thing. So as part of my peer support is giving them that information. It's like, hey, if you're going to go up to Bentonville, here's a list of everything that's going on of your recovery groups, and here's ones that'll come pick you up. So
you can kind of help build a bridge for those veterans who are maybe starting out here, but then want to have something closer to home.
Correct.
That they can actually go ahead and be involved in. That's awesome. So, what kind of impacts have you started seeing this kind of work do, not just in your own life, but in the lives of some of the people you've worked with?
Well, as you know, I feel like I'm blessed every day. One, that someone's actually paying me to do this, but two, and I can't even count it, but it's daily occurrence, multiple people. I start my day off is when we get our new cycle of guys that come into IOP, and I get to go in there and tell them, you know, the beginning of our cycle, who I am and what I do. I automatically get a little bit of warmth towards me because I am a veteran. And when those guys look at me and say, man, that guy's in recovery, you know, because I'm openly, you know, speak about my recovery, you know, as a peer. That's part of the thing that we're supposed to be able to do. We're actively walking in recovery, and so that kind of breaks those walls down a little bit. And so just like today, when we have up to 13 people in our program, when they come in the morning, they have to walk by my office, and my door's usually open, and they all either hit the door or say, hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. So that's, I know I'm having an impact there. And so what I do is let every one of those guys know is that my door is always open. And I said, you know what? The cool thing about our job is I may not have the answer. I'll try to find it for you. But I also give guys an avenue just to come into my office. We can shut the door and we can talk veteran to veteran and kind of let them vent, you know, if they're having a really bad day and stuff like that. But the impact, when we have our graduates that after the 28 days, they come back 2 weeks later or 2 months later, and they come back up there and they come track us down and say, hey, you know what, I'm doing really good. I got a job, or I'm doing this out in the community. And you see that, I can't even count, like I said. So that's the benefits I get to be a peer support, and just knowing that I'm there to kind of give them that little added boost. And oh, sorry, I cut too short. So give them that added boost, you know, and that encouragement. And so that's really, like you said it earlier, it's like, we're not going to drive the bus for you, but I try to tell people I'm there to encourage you, and that's what we're supposed to do. I can help you set goals. I'm not going to do your goals for you, and I can give you some ideas and kind of help prioritize what kind of goals you have. Because like myself, I had a whole bunch of goals down in 1A that was falling on top of me, and I had to figure out which was my priority to help get that all taken care of, and, you know, one by one by one. So
taking that time in 1A kind of gave you that breather as you were kind of trying to detox and get your mind kind of where it needed to be to actually face recovery.
Right.
So that helps a lot. I know one of the things that I work with the IOP program up in Mount Vernon, and I know one of the things that I always start off when I'm talking to a group of veterans is we're peer support. We're not doctors. We're not therapists. We're not going to diagnose you. We're not going to tell you what's wrong with you. You tell us where you want to be. and then we'll work with your team. We'll work with the doctors and the therapists and whoever. I'm sure you have as well, but I've had a lot of really good success in talking sometimes with the therapist or the doctor and say, how can we help get this veteran to where they need to be, and kind of work in concert to get that going in the right direction.
Yeah, you absolutely said it right. So I do the same thing. It's like I'm not a doctor. The only little thing I have on my wall is the peer support certificate that we got together, actually. Yeah. And so you probably will have the same answer to this as well, is that I have a lot of veterans wanting to come talk to me more because I've been there, being a veteran, and being not able to diagnose them and stuff like that. They're able to come feel more relaxed talking to me. And I work with a great, awesome team as well. We have psychiatrists, social workers, pharmacists, and everything on there. And so another part of our job is to advocate for them. And so, whether they may be failing in something or not moving as far along in one area, but they may be doing really good in another. So I like to advocate all the time. And so to hit on another program that I'm actually involved with is with the Washington County Vet Drug Court, Treatment Court here. So I've actually been invited numerous times to go with our VA representatives that help our guys go through vet court. And so I'm a big advocate for our guys that are in treatment court here, because a lot of them are, it's mandatory for them to go to the relapse classes. So right. What they say in there, even though it's confidentiality, but if they're doing good, I can document and I get to tell the judge, hey, you know what? He may not be doing exactly what you want, but this is what he's accomplished. So I kind of let them guys know that I'm their advocate, to let what they're doing positive stuff. So, and if they're failing, again, as you know, we are encouraging. We kind of help them get back on track.
So you're able to really, even though the court system may be just looking at, okay, you haven't met A, B, C, and D, and you can go in there and say, you know what, he hadn't met A, B, and C, but he is excelling on D. Right. Or she is excelling on D. Absolutely. And they're building from there forward. So right. it is great. I know I don't do as much with the court system right now, but as an advocate, as a peer advocate within the VA, I know I've had lots of times when I've had guys and gals who come into my office and they have a question about a bill. Well, I don't know the answer to the bill, but there's an 800 number on there, and we'll call them together and we'll go through and sort it out. Or we've had times when somebody just desperately needed a service officer and didn't really know what one was. And so I was able to get them up to a service officer and get the ball rolling to where they needed it to be. So, as a peer, we do have that awesome opportunity of, one, we're kind of inside the system, so we actually know how to navigate it a little bit better, and we can help our fellow veterans navigate to where they need to be. I've had some that I've helped them get into the VA Choice program, others to get with a primary care doc, and all kinds of different places that, technically I work with mental health, but one of the great things about peer support is nobody really stops us when we go to work with somebody in primary care or through physical therapy or the MOVE program or whatever. They're all just usually really thankful that they've got somebody who has kind of been down that road and can help another veteran find their place getting down that road as well. So I know you work a lot with the substance use disorder program, and I know you've been doing some with the Veterans Treatment Court and talking on 1A. Tell me some more about the community support. Didn't you just have a kind of an informational meeting the other day?
Oh yeah, actually it was just yesterday. So we had our very first annual kind of get together. So one of the jobs that I'm going to have when we move down to the RRTP, Residential Rehab Treatment Center, here in a couple of months is to kind of help when our veterans are going to graduate from that program there, which could lead up to almost a year. We could have veterans there for a year if that's what they need to be, is help integrate them back into the community in parts of the community where they're going to. So if they're going back up to Bentonville or staying here in Fayetteville or going to Springdale, is to help get them resources so when they walk out of our doors, they have somewhere to go, someone to call. And so, the meeting kind of consisted of a few different people from the community for our first one. So we had a couple of representatives from some big churches that want to come help us get their guys plugged in to Celebrate Recovery. That the ones that want to choose that 12-step. We had a couple of representatives from AA, which are going to help plug our guys in. They're going to go back to these communities to find the AA meetings. In fact, we're going to bring what's called Bridge the Gap into our facility on Sundays, where an AA group will come and sit and do AA meetings with our guys right there on site. And it'll be a different home group every month or something like that is the way it's set up. So AAs put their hand and say, hey man, we're going to bring our whole group to you guys and do that with your guys. Right now what we're concentrating on is getting a lot of our veterans that have actually graduated the vet treatment court, the IOP programs, and other different programs that they've done here, to come back and want to give back to service. Part of our recovery that we teach is that when you get to that 12th step is when you find what you're supposed to find, is you want to go spread the word and give it out to somebody else, right? Help somebody else recover. So we really have this model of wanting to give back and mentor and volunteer. So part of that is me trying to get these people in the community that want to come back and mentor and help our veterans, whether it is from a 12-step program or is, hey man, I just want to help a guy get through the night. You know, if he's having a bad day, here's my number. He can call me. I'll go have some coffee with him. And so that's some of the things that we're looking at in the community is getting them all they all have a big interest on what they can do for us. So we're hoping that in the years to come that we'll have such a great resources with the community. It's just a big network.
And now I know you are here, you're stationed here basically at Fayetteville, and you work a lot with the surrounding areas, but of course we've got CBOCs that are, now we've got the one in Mount Vernon that's about to split and go to Joplin and Springfield. We've got Jay, Oklahoma, we've got Harrison, Ozark, Fort Smith. I think is that all of them we have? I think that's all of them we have. But I know, you do so much finding those resources in this area, and I know also around some of the CBOC areas, to be able to say, because someone may be here at Fayetteville and they may live out near Jay, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But being able to say when they leave this program, here are the resources for you in Jay.
Absolutely.
And like I do, as you've done in the past, a lot up around the Joplin area, mm-hmm. and knowing, being able to kind of try to help find those bridges mm-hmm. to help so that we don't want to see somebody go through an IOP program and at the end of the 28 days just say, good luck. We want to try to make sure we've got things built up. And you do a relapse group, am I right on that?
Yeah. So so we offer over there in my building and with my team is that we offer 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do a recovery relapse group, which again is modeled after a 12-step recovery group out here in the community. And so the times would be Monday at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We have a Wednesday group from 9 to 10. And then on Friday, they have another group from 9 to 10. And these are all open to veterans with substance abuse. And you can come in and...
Now, for those kind of groups, they need to actually be enrolled within the VA?
Yes.
Okay.
But, here's the deal. As a peer support, we had an issue just like that the other day. You come, show up at my door and come into my relapse group and you're not enrolled, as well as I do, as a peer support, we'll help you get enrolled, or at least talk to somebody who can help you. And that's actually happened last week. So
you had one, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of didn't even get in the system. So again, you kind of hit it earlier, is that we have this vast knowledge of kind of how to navigate, and so that's one of the good things about this job, is kind of helping the next guy that comes in and doesn't know where to go to kind of help get them through.
And I think that's one of the things as a peer support specialist. One, yes, we're a veteran. Two, we're in recovery, but three, because we've been patients of the VA. We have that experience as well, which we can help guide people through the questions they may have, or make sure they're getting the services or the therapies or the programs that are most appropriate for them. Being able to guide them to the right people. So, JP, I want to thank you a bunch for coming in and being with me today and kind of talking about your story and peer support in general. And as always, we like to ask everybody to remember that we lose 20 veterans a day to veteran suicide. 14 of those have zero contact with the VA. Please, once you've watched this on the Fayetteville Public Access, go to the YouTube channel that they have, and you can go ahead and share this show out on Facebook. We want to get this information out to every veteran we can, whether they're within the VA or not within VA, so that they can find out what kind of programs are available. They can hear stories like JP's about, he was a combat veteran, came home, had some problems, but now he's turned things around. I think it's fair to say a little bit better path than 7 years ago, and loving what he's doing. And we want to be able to help, as JP said, bring that hope back into people's lives. So I want to thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Veteran Recovery Network. We look forward to seeing you again, and please, when you see this, go subscribe to the Fayetteville Public Access television station on YouTube and share these videos. Get them out there, and if you know somebody, send them our way. If they're not sure where to go, just have them ask for peer support. Thank you.